What it do, crew excellence? It is your boy Justin Strickland, and I'm back with another episode of the Ladder Podcast. We jumping into this Stephen A. Smith debate, and honestly, it's bigger than you think. I'm gonna go a different direction that I think a lot of other people are going. So I want you to hang out with me, stick to the end. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you're new here, shout out to my crew excellence. You are welcome to join us. This is the Ladder Podcast. It's all about leadership. That's why I'm going to take a different spin on the Stephen A. Smith story, because I think it's very interesting as a leader how we can kind of peel back some of the layers and see what we can take with us so that we can develop as better leaders. So if you want to develop as a leader, you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit that subscribe, like, and share. We were on the road to 500, knocked it out the park. YouTube switched it up on us. Now we're on the road to 1,000, baby, and we not stopping till we get there. So I appreciate you subbing up and liking the content. It really helps kind of get this message out there. And honestly, I'm trying to spread a message of positivity. Like, I believe everybody's a leader, and the reason I have the ladder and I bring on guests and all of that is because I want you to develop, and I want you to use your leadership ability to make the world a better place. And so let's jump into the Stephen A. Smith debacle or, news. If you have not heard, the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists, gave Stephen A. Smith the privilege of receiving one of their 5 Thumbs Down Awards that they gave in 2026. This award was given to Stephen A. Smith because he was excellent at disparaging black women, and so which is wild that he did it and that they're giving him an award for doing it. I think is honestly, personally, think it's hilarious. But I want to talk about kind of go back. What has Stephen A. Smith said or been saying that is disparaging to black women, and what does his critiques reveal about kind of leadership in general in today's age? Okay, so first things first, let's start off with what he said. It's basically, he talks a lot. First and foremost, Stephen A. Smith talks a lot. So I'm not including his comments about the WNBA because I think that's a whole different thing with how he has treated Caitlin Clark and some of the other women in the WNBA. That's a whole nother conversation that I think fits into this, but it wasn't what the NABJ cited. So they cited specifically the people that he gave disparaging comments about that they think earned him this award, right? So I disagree with a lot of his commentary on the WNBA, and I think as the WNBA has gone on past, Caitlin Clark's rookie year, I think we have seen that most people who are like, no, this is a great league. Like, yes, she can be a fantastic player that's a part of this league, but this is an amazing league. I think we've seen that as the time has gone on, and he's been wrong, right? So I think that's been proven. And like I said, the NABJ did not cite any of those comments as part of the reason for this award. They cited 3 women specifically that he had disparaging comments against, right? So the first was Kamala Harris. And so I did my research. So I'm like, because I think that's one thing too, is just because an organization says someone has done something, you should do the research yourself to see if you agree. He said that he regretted voting for Kamala Harris. So he had made this statement on his show, which has become increasingly more political day by day, which I think he's realized that he can play as a platform in the politics sphere. And so he's leveraging that, which that's what people do in business. They leverage their platform so they can market and earn more money. Not knocking him for that, but he's becoming increasingly more political. And I think the NABJ is taking a shot at that as him politicizing his platform and them feeling like he's doing it in a way that's showing a bias against black women. So he said he regretted voting for Kamala Harris because he thought that she would be able to be a bipartisan president. But after she did not win, she went on a media tour. She wrote a book. He said he realized that she was not going to work with the Republicans at all if she had become president. And he felt like her book tour revealed that she would have been a bad president because she would not have been bipartisan. So that was his statement. is like, nope, he voted for Kamala Harris and he regrets voting for her because now he thinks even if she had won, she would have been bad at being president. Which is interesting because he kind of houses his critique in his view of government. He said he does not agree with a one-party system. He thinks that whoever is president, the opposite party needs to control a part of Congress. So if we have a Democratic president, the Republicans need to control the House. If we have a Republican president, the Democrats need to control the Senate. And he believes that is the best form of democratic government. And so he says, it basically couches his critique like, I regret voting for Kamala because I see that she would not have been a bipartisan president. And then he said also that Trump is not a bipartisan president. He said that he believes that Republicans in Congress could have pressured Kamala to be bipartisan in a way that Democrats in Congress are unable to pressure Trump because his quote is, Trump is uniquely powerful and harder to restrain. So the Democrats controlling Congress don't impact what Trump wants to do because Trump does whatever he wants to do. Okay. And so that was his critique about Kamala. I thought it was an interesting critique when I read the full quote. I don't know if I consider his quote disparaging black women. I think that his quote reveals his belief in government. And I think it may even reveal his lack of belief in Kamala Harris. But I don't know. And maybe I haven't read all the quotes that he said about her. But the one I did read was to me, it was a 2020 hindsight thing where he's like, he didn't vote for Trump because he doesn't like Trump, but he regrets voting for Kamala because he's now looking back, he doesn't think she could have done what he thought his vote was electing her to do. Yeah, I don't know. They didn't like it. All right, next one. He said about Michelle Obama. He has said, he's on record repeatedly saying Michelle Obama is the greatest first lady ever. He said Michelle Obama will always be my first lady. The Michelle Obama stuff is Michelle came out in 2024 when Kamala was running and said that if you vote for Trump, you're voting against women. Stephen A. Smith went on his show and said Michelle was tripping and that she offended him personally by saying that because there are other issues that you could vote for. Voting for something, another issue, he said did not mean that you're voting against Michelle Obama or voting against women. That is literally the crux of his comments against Michelle Obama. More recently, Michelle got a podcast that is super dope. And she said that watching ESPN is like watching Real Housewives of Atlanta. Stephen A. Smith was upset about that and said, but didn't say really anything about Michelle. He was like, nah, man, we talk about sports and athletes. And Barack ain't even really a sports fan, man. He don't yell. That was kind of his response. It was, like I said, I want to be honest. I am one person and my research is limited to my one personhood. Maybe he did say some other things about Michelle that I've missed. But when I looked it up and I did ground level research, not doctoral level research anyway, all that I could find was that he was offended when Michelle said, if you vote for Trump, you're voting against women. Okay? Third thing, now this is the one thing that I do think he did that is disparaging to black women, okay? So the first, I'm trying to be honest and neutral. I don't have a strong feeling about Stephen A. Smith either way. Like, I don't like him, I don't dislike him. He is who he is. The first two, I thought were a little bit of a reach, okay? Especially, I think they're a little bit of reach. But this last one, and I think this is the one that really, that people are grabbing onto and then piling on top of, the Jasmine Crockett stuff. Now, the Jasmine Crockett comments were disparaging not only to Jasmine Crockett, but to black women in general. And this is what he said about Jasmine Crockett was that she was at the White House using street verbiage. He called her ghetto. You know what I'm saying? Stephen A. is articulate. We know what you were saying, bro. Like, he basically said, Jasmine Crockett in the White House, in Congress. He said Congress. She's not in the White House. In Congress, acting all ghetto is basically what he said. And that is disparaging to black women. It really is. Me and my friends argue about this all the time because I don't code switch. And it's funny, my wife did her doctoral dissertation on code switching. I don't believe in it. I talk how I talk wherever I am because that's where God put my feet and I'm supposed to be there. The thing is, though, everybody isn't like that. And everybody doesn't exist in spaces where that is allowed. There are a lot of people who exist in spaces where they fear if they don't code switch, they will be glass, they will have a glass ceiling. They will even get fired or blackballed in certain fields or certain companies and certain businesses and certain corporate environments. And this ideal that there is a such thing as proper, there's a such thing that is etiquette, that is racism. And the reason it's racism and not just prejudice is because for a long time, that standard it has been used to discriminate against minorities, whether it be women, whether it be black people, whether it be Hispanics, and whether it be Asians, right? Like you are pushed to speak a certain way. You are pushed to dress a certain way, to have your hair a certain way. It was in the last 5 years, they had to pass a federal law that you could not discriminate against people based on their hair because that was a proven fact that if you had braids or locks, you were less likely to get hired. Had nothing to do with your resume, had nothing to do with your qualifications. If you showed up to an interview with locks, you had a greater chance of not being hired than if you showed up to the interview with a taper fade. Same exact resume, same exact interview, same exact qualifications. Taper fade, you might get hired. Locks, you're not getting hired. They just passed a federal law for that, right? And so Stephen A. Smith being tone deaf and calling a U.S. representative, because Jasmine Crockett was a U.S. representative in Congress, calling her ghetto because of how she spoke was disparaging to black women. It was. It was, and there's no way around it. He came out and apologized and said that he respects her career, and the things she's accomplished. But the damage had been done as far as, because this is the damaging thing, is there are other people who thought that she was ghetto, right? Who don't look like us. Who, when Stephen A. Smith comes out and says, hey, you need to stop talking like that, they go, see, it ain't just us. See, he's black and he thinks she ghetto too. That's where Stephen A. Smith should have been a lot more careful with his words. And this is the thing. We got to stop policing how people talk. We really do. That's something that's rooted in colonialism. It's rooted in racism, okay? The question isn't how do you talk. The question is, what do you produce? If you're in the U.S. House of Representatives, are you producing results for the district you represent? If the answer is yes, who cares how you talk, right? If the answer is no, who cares how eloquent you are? Like the question is about production. You're a U.S. House of Representative for District 7 in Texas. Is the district better because you have represented them or not? If the answer is yes, then I don't care how you talk, okay? So that's the thing. Is like he allowed himself to play that corporate politic game against Jasmine Crockett, who was a prominent black woman who was getting death threats because of her prominence. And for him to pile on to that was unwise, and it was disparaging against black women, and he deserves all the criticism for that, for sure. Now, here's the bigger issue. So here's the bigger question, right? Because I think what Stephen A. Smith has exposed is there seems to be a consensus that you cannot critique minorities. And this is bigger than just blacks. This is bigger than black women. This is, I think this is a social switch that has happened in the recent, last decade or so, last 20 years or so. If you go, like I read the old activists. I read Malcolm and Martin, and I read stuff from the SNCC, and I read stuff from the hunger strikes of Cesar Chavez and stuff around the world. I love to read about civic rights and how people fight for them. there was allowable critique from within the community that happened from leaders. If you go read Malcolm, he says some things that black people need to work on, right? Like, and Malcolm was super like white people are the problem. Like he held no punches on white people, police are the problem. But he had critiques for the black community. And he would mix them in with his speeches, and he would talk about how black men need to take care of their kids and take care of their wives and how they need to stand up. The Black Panthers had critiques for the black community and said, hey, we need to take care of our own kids. We need to feed our kids, make sure our kids go to school. We need to provide education. Like, there were critiques within the movement for our people, right? Martin had critiques. Martin Luther King Jr. had critiques for black people, right? He had critiques for the church. Even though Martin was a pastor, he critiqued the church. One of my favorite pieces of work from Martin Luther King from Dr. King is the letter from Birmingham jail written to white clergy. He is critiquing the church from inside the church. That there was this sense of, as long as the critique is fair, you can make it, even if you are a part of the group you're critiquing. This switch has kind of happened with social media, the what ifs, or have you thought about, or this group of people online that have really made it hard to critique within your own group. And I think it's interesting because I think that Stephen A. Smith's critiques of Kamala Harris were fair based on his view of government. I don't necessarily agree with what he said. I don't know how Kamala would have been as far as her bipartisanship as she become president. I don't, but I think his critique was fair. If he felt like her book tour and the things she said after she lost pointed to the fact that she was super pro-Democrat and wasn't willing to work with Republicans, and he believes in bipartisan government, I think his critique is fair. I regret I voted for Kamala Harris because she would not have been bipartisan in a way that I think is appropriate. Because he didn't say I should have voted for Trump. That's not what he said. Okay? So I think that critique is fair. But I think the response to that critique is like, oh, you hate black women. Whoa. I don't know how we got there, okay? To be honest, I don't know how we got there. Now, the Jasmine Crockett stuff, I could see you being like, see, told you you hate black women. I said it when he said it about Kamala. Disagreed, but now I see what you're saying, right? Like, I think that's fair. If you're building the case, I think it's fair to throw, if you're trying to throw some stuff into it, you can throw this stuff into it, right? But I think we have to decide, when is it appropriate to critique your own crowd? Okay? When is it appropriate, and what is the frequency that is allowed? Because I think for me, I ain't gonna do no whole episode about Brandon Tatum. He don't deserve a whole episode. But I'm gonna do some shorts. I've been busy. I know I said I was gonna get to it last week when I did the Nolan Wells stuff. I'm gonna get to him. But I think the very real opposition to building your platform off of critiquing your own group, I agree with. I think it's weird if you are a black man or black woman and your whole platform is critiquing black people. I think that is strange. If you never use your platform to support black people or to highlight the good things that black people do, and your whole platform is built around you critiquing black people, that is strange. That is weird. I think that is inappropriate. If you are a Christian and your whole platform is critiquing pastors and calling out other Christians, that is weird. That is inappropriate. I don't think that doesn't make sense to me. But I think if you are a black creator and there are times where you do want to critique black people, I think it should be allowed. That's where I'm at. I think it should be allowed for you to critique inside your group because you have inside knowledge. You are a part of the group. You may have a better critique than someone outside the group because you may understand it better, right? As a Christian, when I am critiquing a pastor, as someone who's been in ministry and been in leadership, I have a inner knowledge of how ministry works from behind the pulpit that I believe I can provide a more fair and more charitable critique than someone who is an atheist. And in that, I should be allowed to do so. Now, like I said, that shouldn't be my whole platform. And it becomes strange if it is. But if I'm a Christian and I make Christian content and every now and then I call out the dude who's stealing from the congregation, that I should not see comments that say, hey, man, we all part of the body. Come on, man. See, church fighting against the church, man. What about unity? It's like, come on, fam. Like, we gotta call out our own. Because if we don't call out, if we never call out the people in our group, we are succumbing to a bias that we cannot overcome. Like, if I know, for example, Fox News. If I know Fox News is never gonna criticize Trump, then it becomes really hard for me to accept them, that the accolades or the praise that they give him. Because I go into the content knowing there's going to be a complete bias towards Trump. It's going to be completely biased towards Trump. Like 100%, no question. And so because I go into the content knowing that, I cannot engage with the praises. I can't, even if some of the things may be good and correct, it becomes hard for me to engage with it because I know when it's not correct, you won't say anything. And so I think that we have to be honest about this ideal that just because you're a minority, you're above critique. I think that's a dishonest way to do media. I think we have to be truthful and fair. And so I love platforms that uplift minorities. I think those are needed because of the systemic stuff that we've been dealing with, especially in this country. But I think those platforms would do a better job if they have 80-20. 80% of the time, they're praising the minority group they represent, and 20% of the time, they're critiquing. 90-10 even, right? Because what I've realized in my 34 years of life is no one group is perfect. No one group is perfect. No one group is monolithic. So even though I love black people, there's some black people who I disagree with vehemently on their lifestyle, on the things they say, on the things they do. And it's black people of all walks of life. Like, I disagree with some poor black people. I disagree with some middle class black people. And I disagree with some rich black people because we're not a monolith, right? There are some black people who do great things for the community, who are financially well, who are witches. And I'm like, I don't rock with y'all because I love Jesus, right? On the opposite side, there are some Christians who are terrible with money. And I'm like, hey, you're bad with money. And like there is a ginormous demographic of black people. For me to think that they all are perfect is asinine and is childish. And so I think there has to be a level of allowable critique that happens within our community. And this is my question. Go ahead and drop a comment. Do you think it matters how big your platform is, right? Because I think we all think critique is allowable around the dinner table, right? I think we've all came home and seen some of the news and been like, man, them doggone teenagers, bruh. I don't even want to be in no place where a whole bunch of 16, 15-year-olds. Like, I think we'll say that around the dinner table, and it's like, yeah, I get you, bro. They be tripping. Like, I think that's I think no one thinks that's not allowed, right? But I think if I say that same thing and I have 2 million subscribers, people will be like, no, bro, you can't be dismissing the youth, man. Like, you doing a disservice to the youth or whatever. So that's my question. Do you think size of platform matters with how often or if it's even allowed? Do you think you can get your platform too big to where you cannot critique a certain group of people? I don't know the answer to that question. I think for me, I'm still mentally working through that. If I think there's a number, I'm not sure. I would love to hear your comments. What's the number? Is it 1,000 on YouTube? Subscribe. Hey, is it 1 million on TikTok? Is it you can make critiques until you get on TV? Like, what is the standard for what's allowable critique? For what's an allowable platform to make fair critiques? And this is my final question. And I hope you guys are commenting because I have a lot of questions for you. Usually I be talking and giving all the information, but I thought this topic was interesting because I don't have the answers, but I have some questions. Do you think there's a such thing as being truly neutral? Like, can someone be neutral and build a neutral platform? Does that exist? Or do we all have certain biases that we have to be aware of and that we have to build our platform in lieu of? Like, can I be a neutral political host that is not Democratic, that is not Republican? Can I build a large platform off of being neutral? And where I give kudos to Democrats, kudos to Republicans, critiques to Democrats, critiques to Republicans. Is there space for that? And do we want that? Do we want neutral platforms and sources? Or do we just really want sources that lean our way? I don't know. I want to know what you guys think in the comments. And I think that the Stephen A. Smith, to me, piqued my interest on those questions because I think some of his critiques were fair and I think some of them weren't. But I thought all of the response to it was the same, right? Like, I think what he said about Michelle Obama versus what he said about Jasmine Crockett, two different stratospheres about how disparaging those comments are to black women. But I think the people who think he hates black women responded the same to both comments. And to me, that's interesting because I don't think the comments were equal. And now, tell me if I'm wrong and I haven't heard what he said and I missed it. I'm open to being wrong. But what I read, I was like, that ain't really that bad. Just being honest. I was like, that ain't. I wouldn't have said it. I don't agree with his point, but I don't know if this is enough to get an award for disparaging black women. Now, if you want to give an award off the Jasmine Crockett stuff alone, I think he earned it, okay? I think he earned it. But yeah, man, I want to know what y'all think. Next week, we're going to have a guest, dope guest, returner. So I can't wait for y'all to see that episode. Go ahead and share, subscribe, and like. I am getting settled in my house. Me and my wife bought a house. So subscribing will help me because I want to do this full time and quit my job. But now I have a house and I have to pay a mortgage. But I'm getting settled. And so you're going to see, you have seen and you're going to see an uptick in content, especially short form content, and probably some long form and some live stuff. So go ahead and turn your bell on so you get to see all the stuff because now that YouTube done flipped I hit 500, it was like, psych, 1,000. Now that I got to run full speed at this thing because I really think not only the ladder, but some other stuff that I want to do with the H.O.P.E Institute is possible. Some things I want to do with my name is possible. And so, yeah, sub up, man. I done asked 6 times. I'm begging at this point. Please. Please. But, man, until next time, man, I'm going to be hanging out with somebody who loves black women. Probably a black woman. Holla at y'all, man. Peace.